Hi everyone, you're very welcome to the Communication Management and Public Relations talk today for Open Day. Ryan has posted a message in the chat box there just to remind you that if you have any questions, either put them into the chat and I will deal with them at the end, or even if you want to put your mic on at the end and ask me anything, I'm more than happy to answer questions at that stage, just once I've run through the slides here. And if you wanted even to contact me at a later date, I'm Kerry-Ann Porter, I'm the course director for CMPR, and you'll find my email on the university website if you wanted to even drop me an email if you have any follow-up questions or anything as well. So feel free to do that. So I just want to take you through, I'm going to tell you a little bit today about CMPR and about some of the content and what you will be studying in the programme. And I'm going to also show you a couple of slides just with some information from a few of our graduates, just to give you a little bit of background to them. They can't all obviously be here today to talk, but I'm delighted that we do have one of our graduates, Orla Strong, here with us, and Orla is going to be live and have a chat with you and let you know a little bit about her as well. Some of the slides I won't read absolutely every single thing on them, and I'll probably just talk over them more than sort of read the slide out itself. And this is a good example actually of that. This is just a couple of quotes from a couple of our students, one from our final years from last year and one from Holly, who's just graduated. And the reason I've put those up is just to let you see obviously what our students say about us, and obviously every programme can say nice things and show what the students say about them. But also with Holly's as well, it was fantastic because Holly actually got offered a job 2 days after she actually finished her degree because of her LinkedIn profile. She'd put information up on her LinkedIn profile and was contacted by PwC and has ended up in a job with them as well, which is great too. So it's something people can look at themselves. Obviously, if you're going back over this again, this will be recorded. So the key things I want to talk about today are why study communication management PR at Ulster, and I guess more broadly why study at Ulster as well. A little bit about what you will learn, how you'll be taught, and some of you will have insight into university life and how classes run, and some of you won't be sort of aware of that just yet, especially if you're still at school and very used to sort of the structure of school. How we support you, what we do on a course level, but also from a university even level point of view. And you perhaps have parents, guardians, whatever with you today watching this as well. So it might be nice for them just to see what all support the university will offer our students when you come. Just because you're adults, it doesn't mean that you just have to fend for yourselves. Hear what our students think, as I said, and just a little bit about future careers as well. So in terms of why studying communication management and PR at Ulster University, as I said, I'm going to tell you about what the content of the programme is in a second. But one of the things we're very strong on in our school, both between this programme, Communication Management PR, CMPR, and also the CAM programme, our placements year. The placement year is optional, you don't have to do placement. But because of that, and because of the long sort of the history that we have of placement and then links with industry as well, we have a very, very sort of strong connection and excellent links with our local communication industry partners, both through placement but also through internships, our students getting short-term normally paid opportunities as well, and also having those industry partners come in and very much often be parts of modules or teaching on modules a little bit or contributing even in guest lectures as well. And in other ways too, helping with strategies the strategies that students are given for their coursework and everything as well. So we have very, very strong links with our local industry. We're also very student focused in terms of teaching and support, and I think that's the strength of Ulster more generally. That we do have a very good relationship with our students. We do our classes, while some of them are big, there's also sort of smaller classes and obviously one-to-one studies advice as well that we have too. So I think we're known to be very student focused and very, very much in terms of us and the School of Communication and Media, that would be a real strength and something that we're very proud of as well. So it's what I said earlier, just because you come in the door as an adult now, or when you do come, it doesn't mean to say that you fend for yourself and everybody just leaves you to it. And one of the other things that we have again, it's a nice strength that we have too, and a nice feature of our programs as well. And it comes from our connection with industry too, very much as well, that we do have annual prizes and awards for our students, and we do actually have a lot of prizes and awards for our students that are awarded every year in June at the end of the year as well. So again, it's nice that we are able to, and that we do recognise our students and our students' achievements as well. In terms of what you learn, the course in a nice way is actually quite broad, but obviously communication management and thinking about communication and the management of your own communication is a very strong feature of the programme. It's not a business degree, so it's not, you are taught obviously about management and leadership at points in the programme, but it's not a business studies degree. And I think sometimes students think, or it's seen to sort of come under that umbrella of business, and it's not. And I think often careers teachers in the past, it seems, have perhaps suggested that to students. So we are a social science degree, we're a social science school in the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Science. And a real strength of our teaching then is that we have that communication underpinning from social psychology in there, as well as the theory and practice of public relations, marketing and lobbying as well. So that's the sort of more vocational application, if you like, of a lot of the communication, the sort of the core communication that we teach as well. So we're very much interested in students developing their self-awareness, their sense of self, how we interact with others, how we engage with others in our everyday lives, both personally and professionally, of course, as well, and learning a little bit more about ourselves and about others, and how to manage our relationships that we have with others in all the different settings that we come across in life. And I mean, one of the key skills that most employers will put into any job description will be good interpersonal and team working skills, and we have that in abundance in this programme as well. And not just teach students about it, but help them to develop their effective communication skills. So we have a dedicated suite, learning suites, where we have effectively almost like CCTV, but obviously you know it's there, and you work on your skills and the development of your skills. You record yourselves and you evaluate yourselves. You look at your skills and what you could do better and how you could improve those as well, with a real emphasis obviously often in the professional domain, in other words your future career, but also from a personal point of view as well. So another big part, obviously, it goes without saying, is obviously digital media communication. But again, teaching students a little bit more about digital and effective digital media communication, and sort of your online presence, how to manage that, how to do that well as an individual, obviously as a person, from a personal point of view, but also how that helps obviously in the industry as well. And one of the other things that we have a part of that as well is improving students' writing skills and their professional skills in terms of writing as well. So that obviously very, very brief overview. If you go on to our prospectus, you'll see a little bit more information about the modules that you would actually be studying themselves. They give you, but that sort of gives you the three sort of broad strands that we would be covering. So in terms, as I said earlier, that the degree is a 3/4 year programme. 4 years if you elect to take placement year, or study abroad actually as well is an option in that year too. So we have first and second year in the classroom. If you take placement, or if you go on placement or do study abroad, then that's your third year of your programme, and then your final year your fourth year, is your final year then as well, when you come back to us then and finish your degree off. First year, as I said before, is really just the fundamental, sort of introducing you to public relations, introducing you to marketing, so what they are, what they mean, and helping you understand the differences and similarities between those, and introducing you to your social psychology of communication and your skills and so on and so forth. We would talk about that as the fundamentals. That's the basics. So we introduce you to everything, and then we take you on into second year, and obviously we build on that and those processes and skills as well, and so on, and preparing you for placement if placement is what you're going on. But even if it's not, we're still interested in your career development as well, for the future, obviously, once you graduate as well. So careers play a very big role throughout the 3 years of the programme, our careers and employability department and our colleagues there in helping us too, and helping you improve your skills, your CVs, interview skills, and so on and so forth as well. So that's a big part that runs throughout the 3 years. So placement, even if you don't do placement, you still are very much supported from a careers and employability point of view for when you graduate as well. So how will you be taught? And this is why I said at the beginning that lots of people know how university works, but lots of people don't as well, and aren't always necessarily sure. So, for example, the semester for university this year doesn't start to the 20th of September, so university starts a little bit later than school would do later on in September. The year is broken into 2 semesters. So effectively, as we would say, just before Christmas and after Christmas, and each semester is 12 weeks long, so 24 weeks, 24 teaching weeks in a university year, and that would be the case essentially for most UK and Irish universities. You do 3 modules or 3 subjects, so 3 classes, 3 different topics, 3 different areas per semester. You would have different classes to go to, different people teaching you in those classes as well, a bit like school from that point of view. But where it's different from school, and you probably are aware of this, that you don't have as many contact hours in the classroom as you would have at school. It's probably a little bit more like sixth form in terms of perhaps hours across the week. And then there's obviously built-in time for independent study and group work and anything else that you need to work on as well with your classmates. So classes themselves, taught classes face-to-face, tend to amount to 3 to 4 hours per module a week. So you're looking at roughly 10 hours across a week. And our modules are assessed absolutely by a variety of methods right across all the different assessment types I have here, right from first year right through to final year. And you probably would do a variety of these even across one semester, maybe not every single one of them, but certainly there's a wide variety of assessment used. Most people are very happy to hear that there are probably less exams in first year university than what you would have done up until that point. I can think now only one module at the minute has an exam, for example, in first year, but there are class tests, which are online tests that are done as well. You obviously write essays, but also we would do presentations. Now, we don't ask students to come in after the first week or two and get them to get up and stand in front of everyone and present. That again is part of your skills and your training, and you sort of lead up to that. So that is a core part, an important part of the programme, but you are trained, if you like, in that, or helped in that as well. There's a lot of practical work, particularly from the point of view of communication skills, as I said, so you get to spend some time just with your small groups and record yourselves in various different scenarios and evaluate that, watch those back and evaluate those. So that would be your practicals. Strategy documents, so you might be given a brief for a particular charity, a particular product, a particular organisation, and asked to, obviously guided through it, but asked to provide a strategy for that organisation or for that charity or for that event or whatever it might be. There's not group work all the time in every single module, but there's a fairly substantial amount of group work expected, both assessed and unassessed throughout the 3 years as well. And also students in some of the modules are required to write blogs as well, and that's a link to our Ulster PR student blog if anybody wanted to sort of follow up with that afterwards and have a look at what some of the students are writing and have been writing, and some of the awards that our students have won, sort of UK-wide awards that students have won from the programme as well. So if you just want to Google Ulster PR student blog, you'll get taken straight to that. So how do we support you then? As I said before, there's a variety of different ways that we do that, in the sense that the university have things that they organise, the university have services that they provide, and then there's obviously what we as course teams and even myself as a course director would do as well. So there is a welcome week, which is a whole week of events that you may see in the press and you may already be familiar with. There's lots of different events that take place in that week, both in this case this year, obviously some online, but in sort of more normal years, that would all be on campus and students would come in. There would be opportunities to hear about sort of clubs and societies, sport, everything that the university offers, in addition to your course as well. Every course has an induction as well, so we but this year and last year we would have online inductions, but we also had for our new first years coming in a day at the Belfast Activity Centre as well. So you have a course director, which in this case at the moment is me. It's a bit like, I suppose, in a way, a head of year type of a role. But obviously then you have individual studies advisors as well, and you meet with them too, and they're assigned to you. They're people that you know, people that teach you, and they, as the word suggests, they advise you on all things to do with your studies and any issues that you might be having. And then there's a module coordinator in every class. That's effectively your teacher, your lecturer, who you call by their first names. It's not as formal as school. And we also put students in contact with our current students when they're coming in. So we have like a sort of a, it's not a matchmaking system, but it is in the sense that we try to, if students want it, new students coming in, when we are able to find out what school you're coming from, obviously, or even what area you come from, we try to sort of match you with current students that we have, just so you can chat to someone who's currently doing the programme, and then hear from some of our graduates as well. We have our own, in the university, student wellbeing department, which provides all different services to students, including counselling services, but also study support, and if anyone has any educational needs, such as dyslexia or anything, then that department is the one that would support you with that as well. And they're in fact excellent from that point of view of supporting students with, for example, dyslexia, because there are a lot of our students would be dyslexic. Then they get one-to-one support. They can get laptops, and they can get other types of support there as well, which is fantastic. Student representation is a big part of the programme, or the programmes as well. So student rep, so that they're elected from your own group of students, and they represent you at various committee meetings and so on. And then, as I said as well, there is an aspect of support from the point of view of a lot of our classes are small, and there's group work, so there's a lot of sort of one-to-one or small group work that takes place as well. As I said before, then we have placement. Students do apply for their own placements. We advertise them. We have a dedicated placement coordinator. One of my colleagues looks after that. And but you do apply for the placement yourself. So it is a competitive process. And just to let you see some of the organisations that our students either are currently working in or have worked in the past, and you can just sort of see students have travelled as well, and have not just stayed in Northern Ireland. So last year with someone at L'Oreal in Dublin, year before with someone at L'Oreal in London, a couple of years ago with someone on placement in Barcelona. Someone was in Boston. Unfortunately, that was during the first lockdown, so she did have to come home, but she got sort of 6 or 7 months of working in Boston. And we had students a couple of years ago also went off to Sydney for a year as well to work. And equally, we have students who stay at home and stay very close to home, and actually quite literally work in their own hometown. So Cookstown, somebody this year's working in their own sort of very small town that they live in, and they've managed to get a placement almost right beside where they live. So so that you don't have to go off. In other words, you don't have to leave Northern Ireland to get placement, and we have a lot of more of our placements would be local than sort of further afield. But there's lots of opportunity for students to travel if they want to, and also as well for study abroad too. So if a student, literally just emailed me yesterday, she's just arrived in Madrid during the week, and she's off to study at University of Madrid on the Erasmus programme for a year, rather than going on a work placement. And someone else hopefully is going to be going on the Study USA programme in the States then as well for the year too. So again, that just gives you an idea of sort of the different opportunities that there are offered, not only by the course, but more broadly by Ulster itself as well. And also, as I said, then we do have industry speakers do come in every year to talk either in sort of smaller classes, or we also have the Chartered Institute of Public Relations, the CIPR conference, student conference every year in March time as well. And that's just some of the folks that have come to talk at that too. And we also have an employer advisory board as well with our industry partners helping us in terms of our curriculum and curriculum development as well. And also then the industry-led assignments that I mentioned before, so just to give you an idea, students have worked on live PR strategies for different organisations, including the IFA, which is the Irish Football Association, Autism NI, Christian Aid Ireland and the Ulster Bank. And then in one of the other modules, students also work on developing strategies, new strategies for some local and international charities, and that just gives you an example of what some of those charities have been that students have worked on as well. So our graduates themselves, adaptable and flexible in their thinking, effective time and project management skills, the ability to work independently and in teams, and the ability to articulate and communicate ideas verbally, non-verbally, and in writing. That would be a lot of graduates from a lot of programs, but I think in a program like ours, it's such a strong part of our teaching as well, to help students learn to work not only independently but to work with others, and why we find it easier to work with some people and not other people, and to help us think a little bit more about that and how we can sort of build on the skills that we have as well. And things like project management skills, as I said, you know, it's not just essays and exams, but you also work on strategy documents. You do a final year dissertation, which is a piece of research. So there's a lot of opportunity to help hone your skills of project management as well, which again is a big part of working, and a big part of being able to do that effectively is so important as well. So I have a couple of slides. These guys aren't here because we couldn't have everyone here, but this is just to give, again, for people just to have a read at themselves, but a little overview. This is Grace, who has just literally graduated, and Grace was at L'Oreal in London for a year on her placement, and had an absolutely fantastic time. Again, it was cut a little bit short because it was the year of the first lockdown happened, but still, with all to that point, had a fantastic time living in London, and then continued her placement online from home as well, and got to finish the year properly too. So that was fantastic for her as well, and she had an amazing time. And just for Grace, it was just she wanted to go to London, and that was it. And she managed to get the placement very, very early on. Actually, it was very, very competitive, and she was very successful very quickly, actually, in terms of securing a placement at the start of second year. And then this is Ellen, who again has just graduated as well, but Ellen chose to stay closer to home and got again what is a very competitive placement, and that's our placement with the Irish News, which has been going for years and years now in their marketing department. So Ellen again managed in a very competitive process to secure her placement there, and again had an absolutely fantastic time, and actually won an award during that as well with the Chartered Institute of Marketing as part of her year there too. So she again had a super time working with the Irish News. Delighted though that one of our graduates is here today. Orla graduated a couple of years ago, and she's just going to say something briefly just to you all. Let you just, there she is. Hi. Just a little bit about sort of herself, why she chose the MPR, if she can remember, because it's a while ago now, and what she enjoyed about it and what she's been doing since. So I'll hand you over, and over to you, Orla. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. Yes, it feels like it's been like a couple of years since I've actually graduated, but I feel like I could still go to carry on and be like, help, what can I do? So yeah, no, it's great. That's probably the one thing about Ulster, is that once I finished, like it wasn't the end. Like you always still have a connection to uni in some way. So yes, so I'm just going to pop on, tell you a little bit about why I chose the course and kind of where I kind of ended up. So I chose the MPR because when I was doing my A-levels, I didn't really know exactly what kind of career path I wanted to go into, but I know that I wanted to study something that would help me get a range of different options of careers that I could go into. So I was having a look online, and I came across the course, and I saw the social psychology side, I saw the digital, the marketing, the PR, and I thought there's so much variety here, and there was definitely something that I knew I was interested in. I was interested in all parts of the course. So that's kind of why I kind of went into it. I knew it would give me lots of opportunities in the future. So that was kind of the main reason why I chose the course, and I'm so grateful that I did, because it really helped shape my life now, personally and professionally. So yeah, it's a great course. I'm so delighted that I chose it in the end. I really enjoyed the course. I enjoyed so many elements of the course. As I had said before, and as Karianna said, it's quite broad, and there's lots of different modules and different pieces of information that you can get from every course. So I really enjoyed like the social psychology side of things, because it was like teaching you about yourself and why you act the way you do in certain groups or as yourself, like why you make decisions. And I really enjoyed the whole social psychology, interpersonal communication, working in groups and teams, because that really helped me develop my personal self as I've went through my career now too. So, and then on the other side of it, the digital side, the communications, learning all about communication management, leadership, PR. There's so much great things about the course, so it really helped me in the future as well as I look back now. I cannot believe it's been so long, but yes, I received so much support throughout my course as well, and still now that I've graduated, like I can still go to Carrie Ann and kind of check in and see how she is, and they're always there for you. If you need anything at all, they're on the end of the phone, they're at the end of an email, or you can pop into their office and just go in and say hello. They always put the student first, and they would put you first before anything, and they're always out for your best interests as well. So I feel like I got an abundance of support throughout my course, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I loved getting to know the lecturers. I loved getting to know the people in my course as well. It's quite a lovely environment to be in at Ulster. So my job and what I do now and how my course kind of prepared me for that. So I took a placement year with CMPR, and I worked in Cool FM's Cash for Kids, so that's the charity of Cool FM, and that really helped me get some first-hand experience and put my kind of education into practice really, so that was great. And then after that I kind of stayed in the charity sector. I went to Aware NI, the depression charity, and was working as a fundraising executive there. And then now I've kind of switched sectors. I went to Morrow Communications, which is an integrated communications agency, so working for lots of different clients to create like digital strategies and do everything like that. So it's great that I was able to kind of use my experience to kind of go into different sectors as well. So my course really helped me prepare for that in so many ways, like learning how to kind of communicate in teams and learning how to like write properly and put my kind of education into practice. So yeah, the course is brilliant, and I wouldn't be where I am today without it, I think. So it's great, and I'm very grateful to everyone in the course that helped me throughout. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Super, thank you so much, Orla. And Orla was a fabulous student, as all our students are anyway, so it was a pleasure to have Orla as much. And as Orla says, yeah, we do keep in touch as well, even just well, for references even and things like that for jobs and everything too. So it's lovely that our students are always happy to come back and chat. I mean, if this was live, there probably would have been even more of them actually around to sort of talk to people as well, and Orla would have experienced that probably even as a student, or coming to find out more about the course, the events that we are able to have when we're face to face as well. So thank you so much, Orla, for that. Fabulous. Sorry, I did see a wee question pop up there, and I will answer that at the end. I think it was Alana asked a question, so I'll answer that at the end. I'm almost finished actually. So future careers in communication management PR include, not limited to obviously, but this just gives you an idea of where some of our students are working and literally currently are working. So there's Morrow Communications, which is an integrated communications agency. And we have 3 students there, or 3, well, 2 of our graduates and one of our placement students is actually currently with Morrow. We have Stride, and Stride's actually a startup agency by one of our graduates, actually one of Orla's classmates actually, started Stride up last year herself with another colleague. And then we've Rapid, which is a sort of more a digital agency, and one of our grads from last year is there, and I actually think someone else might be there on a short-term internship as well. What we talk about in-house public relations and marketing, so doing the PR and marketing in a particular organisation. So business in the community, the Galgorm Resort, we've actually 2 there. 2 of our graduates are actually working there now. The Integrated Education Fund and the Newry and Mourne District Council. So we had a student with Newry and Mourne on placement last year, but it's not the same person, and now one of our graduates has actually just started working with them as well. And then management consultancy at graduate level. So we have 3 of our grads currently at PwC, including Holly, who literally got contacted just days after graduating and offered to apply for a position there as well. So other important information, just that the entry requirements and so on are published on the course pages on the website, but there's also chat functions and so on and so forth that you can go to today, or even contact admissions themselves at ulster.ac.uk. So, questions. I did see a wee question pop up there, if I can just go and find it. What percentage of graduates get graduate jobs? Alana, I have to confess, I haven't got a percentage figure. But this year, so far, I would say, in terms of who I've heard from and in watching on LinkedIn, I would say even now, only 2 months maybe after graduating, that about 50% have got graduate jobs, and there's probably more because they just don't all keep in contact with us and tell us. But even a scan over LinkedIn would show that the success rate actually has been very good, and even in the current pandemic, it's been fantastic actually to see how successful students have been. Not everybody wants to go straight into work, which is the other thing, of course, as well. And there are students that go off travelling, and there are students that go on and do masters. There's quite a few that go on and do a masters in a variety of different areas, because that's their choice and what they decide to do. And the majority, when I say about those jobs, I mean that's everybody that I know of. It's all Northern Ireland based. There are a couple of our grads, obviously. One of Orla's friends actually from her year is away in England working. I know that. One of our grads from last year literally started a new job in England yesterday. But again, that could be as much choice about where a student wants to go. But there are a lot of local job opportunities in Northern Ireland. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. Has anybody else that's here got any questions they want to ask? No problem, Alana. Anybody else, any questions? Anything they'd like to ask? Well, sure. If there is anything else that occurs to you afterwards, as I said, you can have a look obviously on the university's website and look at the prospectus. But if you want, my email address is ka.porter@ulster.ac.uk. And if you wanted to drop me an email, and if there's anything I can help with, then please do. Please do that, and there's no problem at all. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with anybody as well. Okay, well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and thank you very much for joining the session today. All the best, and all the best with school, college, or whatever it is you're doing this year as well, of course, too. Many thanks, and thanks, Orla, as well. Nice to see you. Bye.